I know when I look at sort of mature ClassPass users, so people that have been with us for 6+ months, sort of started building a routine, the average user had been to 10 different studios already. So people that stick with us for 6+ months have tried on average over 10 studios. So you do see this behavior where they're sort of omnivores and trying new things. And from that, they're going to build a habit of, on average, 3 or 4 things that work for them at a point in time. But at the start, there's this really big period of discovery. And when we look at our users, it makes a lot of sense. Roughly half have never been inside a studio before. So they're coming from traditional gym, they're coming from running, maybe they're just getting started altogether. And so half are brand new. And then when we look at their interactions with studios, 94% when they go to a studio have never been to that individual studio before. So in almost every instance, they're either new to the category or new to the studio, and that definitely means they're new to the modality.
Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognized authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Welcome to episode 3 of season 6, and we will be analysing the inaugural ClassPass 2026 Industry Impact Study in 3 minutes. And I can assure big box clubs, small box clubs, boutiques, personal trainers, there is something in today's episode for all of you. Now we're halfway through season 6, so now is when I need to up the ante in planning the next season. And remember, that season is designed by you, for you. I want to know, who do you want me to interview? And or what topics should we cover? You can email me, DM me on socials, or go to the episode notes. I don't really mind. Just tell me what you want. Don't be shy. Season 7, designed by you, for you. A shout out to our merch sponsor this episode, Mountainside Fitness in Arizona. Now let me be straight with you. This episode is not a paid plug by ClassPass. I read their impact study and there were some intriguing findings that I felt impacted every business model. So I reached out, and Jeff Bladt, the Senior VP of Pricing and Marketplace for ClassPass, jumped on the opportunity to have a chat with me. In his role, he focuses on optimizing supply-demand dynamics, driving incremental revenue for partners, and enhancing user engagement through data-driven innovation. Now, before we launch into this interview, I want to give you a heads up. Next episode, we have Dr. Heather McKee coming on. She's a leading European health behaviour change specialist and researcher with a PhD in weight loss behaviour change psychology. She helps individuals and companies create lasting health habits through evidence-based, sustainable methods, focusing on skill power over willpower to make healthy choices enjoyable. Don't miss this episode. Now, a reminder for our FBP insiders, one of the simplest perks inside the membership is that you get every episode early. So while everyone else is waiting for Heather's ep to drop, insiders, you're already listening, you're already learning, and you're getting the jump on everybody else. If you like to be one step ahead, head to the show notes and check out the link to FBP Insiders and become a member today. After this short break, we're going to hear from Jeff. Jeff, would you tell our listeners why the ClassPass 2026 Industry Impact Report is such a credible source of data and insights for them?
Thanks for having me on, JT, and really excited to talk about the report today. I would think about it from maybe a couple different angles. The first, ClassPass and MindBody together, we sit on top of probably the largest set of sort of actual data for the industry, for fitness, boutique fitness in the world. So just in the last year, we did over 62 million reservations across just the ClassPass system. We work in 31 countries, over 600 cities. We work with over 80,000 partners. And so we have this incredible set of actual revealed data where we can trace the users through the system. We can trace how they interact with studios, which modalities. And so we have this corpus of sort of irrefutable, rock hard data that we could use to build our insights. And then on top of that, because we have relationships with our users and with the studios, we can go out and do surveys on top of that. And so we do those periodically. And most recently, we did one here back in February where we sent sort of a new round of survey questions out to our studio partners, and then a similar set of questions out to our users to supplement that sort of set of data we get just by being a marketplace.
Now, the majority of our listeners actually are from the US. We have about 57% of our listeners in the US. Is this a global impact report or primarily US based?
The report itself is a global report. ClassPass obviously started in the United States. So I think and we've checked the insights here. I think anything I say applies to the United States. I'll make sure to call anything out where I think there might be a global divergence. So it is global in nature, but incredibly applicable to the US.
All right, well, let's hit everybody right between the eyes straight up. If you had to distill the biggest takeaway from the report, what is one thing that we just cannot ignore that's just blatantly there in black and white?
I think for me, when I was looking through the data, one of the headlines that really jumped out when we looked at both the user behaviors and what they were just giving us loud and clear in their responses is variety is really, really important for a large part of this audience. We know that health is the new wealth, and tons of people are very interested in getting into fitness or increasing their fitness. And when you ask them what that actually means, it's about variety and discovery. So ClassPass can work on both sides here. We can help the studios bring new people in and be on the receiving end of that discovery. And then we work on the user side to make sure that users can find the new things. It's a very fast and growing space that can be really confusing. But the takeaway was sort of variety and discovery is key to both engaging people already in and bringing new folks into the fold.
So when you say variety, the average ClassPass user might go to 2, 3, 4 different types of modalities in a week?
I think within a week, their behavior might look a little more normal where they're going across 1 or 2 modalities. I know when I looked at sort of mature ClassPass users, so people that have been with us for 6+ months, sort of started building a routine, the average user had been to 10 different studios already. So people that stick with us for 6+ months have tried on average over 10 studios. So you do see this behavior where they're sort of omnivores and trying new things. And from that, they're going to build a habit of on average 3 or 4 things that work for them at a point in time. But at the start, there's this really big period of discovery. And when we look at our users, it makes a lot of sense. Roughly half have never been inside a studio before. So they're coming from traditional gym, they're coming from running, maybe they're just getting started altogether. And so half are brand new. And then when we look at their interactions with studios, 94% when they go to a studio have never been to that individual studio before. So in almost every instance, they're either new to the category or new to the studio, and that definitely means they're new to the modality. And so that first period on ClassPass is just a period of massive discovery.
When somebody signs up with ClassPass, do you onboard them in any way? What does that look like for a new person? Because to say that number of the people each month are brand new to working out is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really what motivates me in this job. It's one of the things I really love is you can start getting these healthy habits built. We spent a lot of time thinking about that onboarding process. We obviously bring a lot of users in with a trial. We think that's how you get people sort of over that fear of trying a new workout. It can be really intimidating. And so we structured our product to remove as much of that discovery friction as possible. And then we've invested a lot of time and technical efforts into making sure we have really solid recommendations. We start learning about what a user attends, where they're located. We start showing them things that sort of tailor to their preferences, while being careful to keep exposing them to new things because we know that that's one of our big value propositions. And then we have probably the largest mountain of fitness reviews from their peers on the planet. And so we're really good at showing them information from people like them in their fitness journey, sort of. So they can make a really informed decision about where to try next.
Is that all automated behind the scenes of what you do? Because that's a fascinating way to have someone go, that person's just like me and they're doing Pilates. Maybe I should do it.
So that the reviews sort of organically get surfaced as they browse. The typical ClassPass person is in our app 31 times a month. And so we have their attention, whether that's they're browsing, they're looking to discover, they're confirming a reservation, or they're leaving a review afterwards. So we have a lot of different touch points to gather feedback and then also give them new information.
Jeff, the fact that you're getting reviews, big box clubs, we struggle to get Google reviews, yet you're getting your community to review classes. Are they rewarded? Do they do that organically? Why do they do these reviews? It's fascinating.
I think there's a couple. One is very just pragmatic. We find the information so valuable. So we ask them every time they go to a studio, or a new studio, after they've completed the class. And because we control the reservation through the app, we know if they've gone or if they haven't gone. So it's a valid review. Unlike Google, where sometimes you worry, am I reading a review from someone that's actually gone or not? Or we're only getting the people that had a horrible experience or know the owner. We ask everyone. And so we try to get the feedback of the average goer, not just the person who, for whatever reason, has sort of one of these far outside the normal experience points of view. And so we ask every time. And I think when we talk to our users, they do feel like they're part of a community. And it's one of the things that they enjoy giving back on. So I think it goes both ways. We make sure to ask everyone. So we're not getting just sort of the bias side of things. We're getting a true sort of feel for this studio, this class, whatever. And then the users sort of enjoy giving the feedback.
In this report, were you able to identify the most popular type of class people were booking in for?
So this probably won't be a surprise answer, I hope, to many. Pilates has clearly been the hot modality in boutique fitness, and that continues into, I think the report runs through 2025. If I look at the 2026 data, it will tell us the same thing. Pilates, I think it doesn't have a majority, but it's certainly the most popular if you stack ranked. I think if you sort of look underneath Pilates, because that can mean a lot of things now. Is it, a small group class? Is it megaformer? Now you have hot Pilates. I think within that, hot is probably the key word I would pick up on as a trend that we're seeing. So, within Pilates, hot Pilates is growing quite quickly in popularity. We also see hot sort of showing up in other modalities. Hot yoga is sort of gaining in popularity. It was something we were seeing pre-pandemic, and I think that sort of paused during the pandemic for sort of obvious reasons, but that's coming back. And so those would be two trends. Within sort of circuit training, I think people offering things sort of HYROX or HYROX adjacent are seeing really good traction. And that's been a trend we've been watching as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. We interviewed Andrew Sugarman, the CEO of Centre, at the beginning of this season. And when I was doing some research on HYROX, the number of people that were booking in through ClassPass, it was right up there as one of the number one, number two sort of modalities people were looking for on ClassPass was HYROX classes.
Yeah, and it's just skyrocketed in the last, 6-18 months, that period. One interesting thing back on the Pilates trend is it's fun to watch it from like a marketplace point of view, because you see the user demand growing, but you also see a lot of new entrants on the studio or business side as well. The number of studios that are converting part of their schedules to Pilates or just opening in the space has also been amazing to watch. And so as the consumer side's really growing, you've seen the number of people playing in that space really get crowded as well.
What's the trend with cycling? What are you guys seeing around cycling?
So cycling, I think if you looked at what was ascendant pre-pandemic, cycling was certainly probably on everyone's mind. It had sort of the cultural cachet, and during the pandemic, Peloton really had their takeoff. And coming out of the pandemic, as we saw people return to studio, cycling sort of recovered slower. And so you could imagine one theory would be that sort of the at-home experience took sort of a permanent bite, or maybe a temporary bite that we're working our way through out of the in-studio experience there. But it just never recovered to the same extent as other modalities. And Pilates was the one that I think was the big winner, not to go back on a theme, where you do see it sort of ascended in the cultural and the conversation around fitness.
It's interesting. I'd love to know why. I wonder if it's because we were so close. But everything we see also in big box clubs and in the studios that we work with and talk to, cycling, has just not got back to that peak that it had at the end of the 2010s.
Yeah, and I don't have the Peloton data. Obviously, it's data I don't have. But they seem to be growing from everything, set aside the stock price. When you just look at the number of people buying Pelotons, that number still seems to grow a little. My own personal opinion is there's some sort of, shift to the at-home. But what was surprising is you could imagine yoga could have experienced the same thing. There are thousands of hours of high-quality yoga put on YouTube every day for free, and yoga's come roaring back. So there's something specific, I think, in cycling that, probably warrants more discussion.
And I'm fascinated about the hot trend as well. That's really interesting. I don't quite understand that. We get dehydrated when it's 100 degrees that we're doing yoga in or Pilates in. Fascinating.
We're probably not too far off from seeing boxing studios do this, and then we're going to have hot boxing, which may be a hard thing to sort of Google and search for, but there's all sorts of modalities where I think you're going to see heat probably enter into the workout space.
Well, you know what we might have just discovered? The new modality, hot cycling. That might get it.
Cycling. But it's things you can't replicate. It's things you can't replicate at home. But it doesn't mean I've obviously talked to a doctor and they'd be like, that's maybe not the safest idea to exert yourself in a cardio way. Exactly.
So, Jeff, one of the interesting things is I guess you probably built your business around these boutiques and studios, but now ClassPass also dabbles in, and maybe you've got some data from this impact, on the wellness side of the industry.
That's right. And this fits with this health is new wealthy. And I sort of teased it earlier. We've seen sort of the stuff we've been able to present to our users beside fitness really take off here in the last year or so. Some of it's quite obvious, like sports recovery is up 155% year over year. Stretching's up a similar number, I think it's like 143%. And that's obviously very much adjacent to a workout. But we also see things like spa treatments, including massage is up 77%. We've started partnering with takeout food places, so smoothies, bowls, that's growing, super fast in a market like New York as well. And so this concept, we think, what do our users think about when they think about sort of health and wellness? It's not so narrow anymore. It's not just working out. It's this more holistic picture. And so for us as a company, you're thinking through how do we make sure we're servicing all of this, part of the user demand. And obviously when a user is sort of low on that motivation to work out, the hope is that they can still get value and keep with it. So when that motivation returns, they haven't sort of dropped the habit.
Jeff, that's a fascinating discovery that I had no idea about with ClassPass. So you've really got a bit of an ecosystem now around health, fitness, wellness. Is that right?
That's exactly right. We started as a fitness company. We're always going to be a fitness company, but we want to meet our users where they are. And if their version of wellness is more expansive and we have an app where we have their attention 31 times a month, shame on us if we can't find a way to organically help them out there as well.
So if I go to Joe's gym and next to Joe's gym is Fiona's smoothie bar and Joe doesn't sell smoothies, I can book my smoothie through your app to pick up after my workout.
Exactly. And it should just be sitting there on the counter like you ordered through any other app, and you can schedule it all and seamless experience.
That is seamless. That is outstanding. And tell me about the other side of it. Like you talked about their sports recovery. So is that actual studios and boutiques that people can go to, or is that a component of a room inside a studio or a boutique, or both?
It's both. So we've seen a huge uptick in studios adding recovery classes. And so there's a lot of savvy studios that are realizing that users want this sort of variety or sort of this more holistic view. And so they're adding it. And then there's also entrepreneurs who sort of have whole businesses built around stretching or recovery. They're getting really good traction on ClassPass as well.
The stretching is a fascinating one because I think people sort of scratched their head a little bit when Stretch Lab came out and it was like, is this really going to take off? But after participating in a Stretch Lab one-on-one session, I can absolutely see the benefit of it. And obviously your users are seeing that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I think it's all back to this. We might have the users that are at the sort of high end of a desire to build a habit around variety. But when you build a habit around variety, these things that are recovery are really great complements to the things that are around strength training. And I think for users that fall in love with the studio and go single home, they love it when the studio itself offers it. But for someone looking for variety, you kind of need a product like ClassPass so you can get the recovery component as well.
Do you guys do in ClassPass gamification of workouts and streaks? And so you said that people are on the app about 31 times in a month. Is there a way that you drive the habit of them coming back to your app?
We've toyed over the years with a lot of sort of gamification or reward systems. And honestly, we have yet to find something that's more rewarding than just doing the workouts. Like the number one sort of dopamine rush, the happiest our users are is that moment right after the workout. And the more you can get them to class, like there's no sort of shortcut to just that. And so we've experimented with streaks, we've experimented with rewards and badges, and I think there's some in the app, and some parts of our users really love them, and I think it motivates some set of our population. But truly, I think a recurring subscription, so you don't have to make this purchase decision every month, you sort of signed up your life to have this wellness component. I think that is mechanic number one, and then mechanic number two is sort of all of the recommendations is to get you to go to class, and everything after that is just, a little bit at the margin, I think. Like that true dopamine rush of a good workout, I don't think there's an in-app mechanic that's ever going to compete with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. What about photos? Do people load photos with their reviews, or is it just texting? And
we're just text-based in the reviews, so we don't get any photo submissions from our users. Though we do encourage our studios to include photos of their venue, of their classes, and video, and studios that include those elements see a lot more new users. It really helps with the discovery process.
Okay, so that's interesting. Let's dive into that. There's a studio owner listening today and they're sitting on ClassPass and they're going, why aren't I getting more people into my class? Can you give them 3 to 5 top tips that they should have on their own posting on ClassPass?
Absolutely. So the ClassPass user is looking for variety and is new potentially to your modality, probably new to your studio. And so what is that user looking for? They're looking first and foremost, what is this environment I'm going to enter into? So that visual element, what photos, do you have videos? More is better there. So if you have a lot of photos or content you love, I would encourage them to upload all of that. The next, I think, goes to the description. I think the description is super important. We tested studios that have very thin descriptions, just sort of like an address or sort of boilerplate, and those that actually tailor it to the audience. And those who actually tailor that description for someone who's probably new do a lot better. So our users are reading that content and using that to sort of make a decision. And then the third thing, there's messaging that you can have sent to a user if they're coming for the first time that explains what to expect. And that messaging is super important for sort of setting the tone, making sure our user shows up and meets your community where you want it. They're coming into your studio to have a great experience. If you want them there a little early, if they're new or whatever it is, sort of setting that really helps set the user and the studio up for success. Those are 3 areas I'd make sure you haven't just checked the box, but you've really looked at and sort of put your heart into.
Yeah, I love those. Thank you. Studio owners, make sure you do those 3 things so that you can drive traffic into your business. Speaking of driving traffic, the report highlights that the average studio is only at about 37% of total capacity. Every studio struggles to get to full capacity, whether it's an in-club studio or a standalone studio. How are you helping your partners monetize that unused, let's call it inventory, while still protecting their core business?
It's easy to talk about ClassPass for what do we give the users, and it's pretty obvious. It's obviously value and variety is sort of the value proposition to users. What's the value proposition to a studio? Maybe they haven't joined ClassPass. And I think that the easiest formulation of that, it's the inventory you weren't selling to users you weren't reaching. And so if we can do those 2 things, you're in a great place, obviously. Like if a class happens and it's half full, there's no way to get the revenue back for the half that was empty. And so that's where we can come in. And we can find your off-peak classes, whatever those slow times of the year, slow times of the day. And we can find the audience that we've gone out and built, which is broadly new to your studio and definitely new to the category, and put them in there. And you can still monetize those unused spots. Obviously, you get to introduce these users to your studio. When we talk to our partners, it gives them extra money to invest in their studios. The extra sort of feedback loop doesn't just benefit the ClassPass users. Obviously, it allows you to pay your instructors more, allows you to do whatever investment that's sort of sitting there on your backlog. And so, but that's the pitch to studios is, we want to take those spots that you weren't using and bring you people that you weren't going to be able to reach or you weren't reaching. And then to make it easy, we built a couple tools within ClassPass that most of our partners use today. We have a tool called Smart Spot, which helps automate that decision about what spots do I need for my direct members and what spots are going to go unfilled. It learns your business. It's a machine learning tool. So it's self-reinforced learning, uses a lot of fancy statistics behind the scene. But basically what it's doing is saying this spot is, high confidence going to go unfilled. So let's co-merchandise it on ClassPass. And in your most popular classes where you have the direct demand, it's going, don't let any ClassPass people in there, only let 1 or 2, whatever the right answer. So it gets rid of the tedium of having to make that. And that tool's proven really successful. And then we have another tool that helps optimize how much money you earn. Even within ClassPass, obviously, your most popular spots, you should see a surge rate for. And in the middle of the day, the model can find sort of more of a price volume trade-off to get more people in when you're least popular. So between those tools, partners have a lot of success once they sign up.
You do dynamic pricing and you do dynamic positioning actually in the class as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. Now, Jeff, how does the ClassPass eGym thing work?
So it was 100% a merger of sort of shared mission and shared upside. They built such a strong business, both in hardware, something that we've never really done at ClassPass or never done at ClassPass. The eGym hardware is just fantastic. I don't need to sell it. It sells itself. And then they built a super strong corporate presence in Europe, especially in Germany, where they started with WellPass. And sort of they were eyeing sort of North America and had started working in North America. And that's where ClassPass started. And conversely, we were eyeing, Germany and the corporate business and all of that. Germany, I think in many accounts, is the 2nd or 3rd largest fitness market on earth. Our shared missions are just so excited to work together. I think our DNA at ClassPass obviously started in studio fitness. And there's a set of ways that you solve problems and you build the world and you bundle that into a consumer product. And they very much started with a gym worldview and strength training at the core of that. And what I'm excited is to see how do we take the best of both of those and help build products that bridge. I think historically ClassPass has been an A+ product if you wanted variety around boutique fitness, but it hasn't been an A+ product if you wanted to complement that with a traditional gym workout that's self-led. And so how do we take their best-in-class lessons there, their hardware, their connected data, and start layering that in? And there's a lot of discussions that we're starting to have there now that we can work together. And then I think conversely, you can imagine they have a traditional gym audience that they're very excited to keep expanding into studio fitness. They've been working in that direction. And so in both directions, there's just so much opportunity to learn from each other. And so like on ClassPass, I would say, obviously, I think there's probably a renewed focus on how do you make gym a complement when you think about variety. When we survey our members, a large percentage of them actually carry a gym membership while being on ClassPass.
Really?
And so there's a question. I was always sort of surprised by this. And so part of the variety that we've never really been played into, we have gym partners and we send them drop-in visits, and it's been a great part of the ecosystem. But for a lot of our users, they have this full-time gym membership and then this sort of discovery thing on the side. So how do you bring those together into a product that's stickier? Is something we're super interested in.
So really, I think what's going to happen at the back end of this year for ClassPass is the evolution of the ClassPass and eGym relationship, and perhaps some big box clubs are really going to be able to tap into the relationship with ClassPass there.
That's certainly what we're working on here.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Jeff, before we go, I have one final question for you. Is ClassPass a tech-based company or is it a fitness-based company? It's fascinating today because I've learned so much about the brand ClassPass, the product ClassPass, but you just seem to do some really cool techie stuff as well.
I would like to think we're the anti-tech company, in a sense. Like, we certainly have amazing engineers and we build amazing tech products. But unlike pretty much every other app on your phone, we're trying to get you to put your phone down, not look at a screen, and get out into the world and do something. And so you can imagine there's a world where we think, we're competing against other experiences. I really think we're competing against people staring at Netflix or doom scrolling, or just looking at a little piece of glass in their pocket. So in that sense, I'd like to think of us as sort of the anti-tech company. You know, when we're successful, you're not using technology. Your phone's away, you're in a studio, and you're just, getting a great workout or experiencing all the wellness options we have.
Jeff, that's a great way to finish. And I really appreciate your time and giving us a bit of an insight into both ClassPass, but this impact report and the data that you shared has been absolutely mind-blowing for me. So thank you so much for your time today.
And thank you for having me, JD. I really enjoyed our conversation.
For our FBP insiders, there is a complete PDF of the ClassPass Industry Impact Study for you to download and read. Just go to patreon.com/Fitness Business Podcast and you'll find it right there. If you're not an FBP insider, why don't you start a 7-day free trial and then you can get a copy of the report.
Hello, my name is Alan, Marine vet and founder of Growth Solutions, your gym's 24/7 ops and member management employee without adding the headcount. For all my contact details, look in the show notes below. Running a gym is a lot of hard work. You're always running around, putting out fires, broken equipment that you're not aware of, that's been down for weeks, hurting your net promoter score. Your product is people, and you're dealing with potentially thousands of people at any given time. How do you most effectively get those people through your gym to deliver a result that keeps them coming back for more? That's the problem that I recognized as a potential gym owner, and that's what led us to develop our solution at Grow. So if you as a gym owner are tired of tailgaters, or tired of missed sales opportunities at the front desk, if you want to make smarter CapEx decisions, or if you want to run hyper-personalized ads and marketing campaigns to get more members coming back and keeping them for longer, Grow Solutions does all of that. We don't do it by becoming just another software in your stack. We use our experience doing large, complex data integrations for the Department of Veterans Affairs to pull all of your system data into one place, enable it with AI, so AI can work across your organization, both operationally and your member experience. We go further than unified data. We turn your camera systems that you already have into a powerful data capture tool built with healthcare level privacy in mind. You can finally know what's driving your members, how to make smarter CapEx decisions, how to serve each member best, and ultimately how to run a more profitable business. If you want to see what a 24/7 ops and member management employee looks like in your gym, reach out. We'll walk you through the fastest wins based off your needs and make sure you're taken care of.
Thanks, Alan, and I'd encourage everybody to visit today's notes on the podcast player that you're listening to and find the links to Grow Solutions. There's also a couple of other suppliers I'd like to acknowledge today who help us produce a podcast every couple of weeks for you. Be Balance Centers. They provide natural hormone balancing for weight loss and symptoms relief. Instinctive Insights provides profit-driven marketing and data science services to increase customer acquisition. Alico manufactures and sells premium strength and weightlifting equipment. NetGym provides automated staff operations and substitute request management for all fitness studios. eGym provides a smart, connected fitness technology and equipment for gyms. Here's my challenge to you. Don't let this episode stop with you. I want you to think of one person, just one person who'd be better at their job, who would lead better, who could get more people started in gym memberships, simply because of what you heard today. I want you to send them the link of the show. I want you to post it, share it, pay it forward. That one share can have a ripple effect far bigger than you could ever imagine. Anyway, I'll see you next episode when we interview Dr. Heather McKee. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.